Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, and really thrilled to be joined by Walmart here once again. And this one is specifically going to be focused on getting your Walmart business ready for Q4. And obviously, you know, as we're kind of getting through the bulk of Q4 on the horizon, and this obviously this upcoming Q4 tends to be probably different from ones we've experienced in the past, and really, and not just obviously from the societal side and everything going on, but then also Walmart's debuting a lot of just really great features, and some of them Stephanie's going to be talking about today. So my name is Andrew Weber. I'm the Director of Insights here at Tigametrix, and today I'm joined by Jason McGee, who's a Senior Director over here at Tigametrix as well, and really is close to our Walmart product and getting that in the hands of our customers. And finally, from the Walmart side, super happy we're getting a repeat performance. He was with us back in April for kind of the first webinar we did with Walmart, but it's Stephanie Prasad, who's the Senior Product Marketing Manager over at Walmart Media Group, and is really responsible for a lot of the stuff happening with the sponsored products product over at Walmart. So thanks again, you guys, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. I'm glad we didn't scare you off the first time.
Definitely not. I'm very happy to be here.
Great. So just a few housekeeping notes before we kind of start getting into it. Within 24 hours after the end of this presentation, we're going to be sending over a recording of this webinar along with the deck you're seeing here. And additionally, as we're going through the presentation, feel free to use that questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. If a question comes up, you don't feel like you have to wait till the end, feel free to pop those questions in as we're going, and we'll keep track of them. And then when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll hit Q&A and we'll answer as many of those as we possibly can. So with that, I think we can start getting into it, and just kind of a quick note first on what Teikametrics does for those of you who may not be familiar.
In the meantime, as you go through this, Andrew, please let us know. If we just want to make sure our audio is coming through clear. So please just feel free to type away and let us know if you can hear us correctly. And I guess if you can't hear us, you won't be commenting. So anybody who can, please feel free to chime in there.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know if you have any issues. So a little bit about Teikametrics. Teikametrics is a technology platform, but what we do is we pair that really deep technology background with live analysts that can help you, especially larger brands, really scale up across both Amazon and Walmart.com. And we offer kind of two multiple tiers of service, whether you're a larger brand that needs that extra help from, you know, hands-on keyboard help. Additionally, though, if you're let's say, smaller seller, we do offer, you know, a self-service product for Amazon, and again, our Walmart product, which is kind of a separate offering, but can be aligned with that as more of a managed service offering. So here's some of the brands we work with. You can see down below, and again, we're going to have contact information at the end here. So if you want to get in touch with us, learn a little bit more about what we do, happy to have that conversation.
Great.
So getting towards, oh yeah, go for it, Jason.
No, I was going to say, it looks like we're coming through great. Thanks, Shanti, Jawad, and Mallory. Looks like we, at least 3 people out there can hear us great. So thank you guys so much. And back over to you, Weber.
Great. So what we're going to cover today, first, Stephanie will be talking about some new Walmart sponsored products reporting and ad inventory functionality. Super great stuff there. I'm really excited for her to talk about that. Then really talking about what you should be thinking about in Q4, how those changes, along with some of the existing functionality of Walmart, really should be playing into Q4 specific thinking. Especially with the first price auction like Walmart has, it's incredibly important you kind of take some learnings that maybe you got from other marketplaces, but then you take a substantially different approach when it comes to Walmart, just to make sure you're going to hit all your goals and do so effectively. Then we're going to be talking through really the best stories that we've been able to gather in terms of what drives success on Walmart and the lessons you can take from them as you look towards Q4. And really looking at, based on prior holiday seasons, what works in Q4, really how should you be thinking about it as we gear up, as you're gearing your business up for this really important holiday season, how should you be thinking about that? So there's a lot of great content. And so with that, I want to pass it over to Stephanie, who can hit on kind of some of these new functionality updates.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew. So As I mentioned, I am Stephanie Prasad from the Walmart Media Group, and I'm excited to share with you guys some of the great innovations that we have released recently for sponsored products. So the first one that I will talk about today is we now have a search term report that gives you the ability to harvest keywords from automatic campaigns. We're calling this an item keyword performance report. So basically we're giving you keyword performance at the item level, which is granularity that we did not previously have. So for automatic campaigns, it means you can now see the specific keywords that showed your ads in our search and grid placements and use that to help you identify and convert those keywords over to manual campaigns. It also means that for manual campaigns, we're now giving you that lower level of keyword performance granularity to give you more information to pull insights from to help you better optimize either your bid prices, your match types, or allow you to, remove or add underperforming or overperforming items as you promote them against specific keywords. So this is a highly requested report, and I hope that you all find it useful as you go into holiday.
Yeah, this has just been an incredible move, and we've already seen a lot of benefits from it. So I'll touch more on this later, but thanks for that, Stephanie.
The next update I have for you all is around the slots or the placements that we have available in our search and grid. So previously we had fixed sponsored slots in slots 3, 5, 6, or 12. We now have the ability to promote sponsored items in any position 1 through 12, still with a maximum of 2 ads per page, but it means that you now have the ability to get increased visibility at the top of the search results page, and even in slots 1 and 2, which were previously, not available. So there's nothing you need to do to take advantage of this. All of your existing automatic and manual campaigns that you're running are now eligible to get the higher level placements on the search and grid page. The next thing that we've given some additional reporting visibility into is your buy box win rate. So as a reminder, in order to be eligible to win the sponsored products auction across any of our placements, your product has to be in stock and you have to be winning the buy box. And so previously we did not give any easy visibility into whether or not you are winning the buy box and what that buy box win rate looks like. We are now making that available to you, so you'll be able to see the buy box win rates today specifically, and also over the last 7 days. And we're making this directly available to Tigametrix as well, so that they can surface it for you within their platform. And the final new release or innovation is one that hasn't come out quite yet. This will be coming soon, and hopefully in time for holiday, but we will be adding an additional placement, specifically the sponsored products carousel, to our manual or keyword bidding campaigns. So currently our manual keyword bidding campaigns only are eligible for the search and grid placement. We're now adding the sponsored products carousel placement, which again just gives you the ability to target those specific keywords that you're interested in, but get visibility now across both the in-grid as well as the carousel. So this hasn't been released quite yet. So stay tuned for additional updates on this from the Teikametrics team, but this should be available to you in time for holiday.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. Really appreciate that. And that is just some awesome updates. I'm really going to dive into them. So let's talk about incorporating Walmart product ads tools in Q4, and particularly how you can use them to drive growth. Again, my name is Jason McGee. I'm the Senior Director of Sales and Business Development here at Teikametrics. And just a reminder, we will be sending this out. The recording and the slides, you all can have them as well. But let's jump in here. So you really need to be able to understand trends and adjust quickly during Q4. I mean, this is so apparent, especially with COVID, because it's really shifted how buyers purchase products. And a good campaign structure, if you take good campaign structure and leverage all the tools that are unique to WPA, it'll allow you to identify and act upon changes in performance. Now, further going into this, to optimize your efforts, you need to hone in on your strategy. The reason being, wasted ad spend is particularly easy in Q4 with the substantial increase in traffic, especially Walmart is a first price auction, so you really need to understand how that impacts the money you're spending and how you actually set your bids. So let's go into the best practices of Walmart that are related back to the tools that Walmart has released and will be releasing. Now, the first one, the fact that you have the item keyword performance report allows you to run the auto to manual structure. You can replicate that not on Walmart. I mean, you see this a lot with Amazon and other places too. This is incredibly impactful because previously, before Walmart had the search term reports here, instead of doing the auto to manual migration, you took a different approach. You used automatic campaigns to increase organic ranking, to increase discoverability, searchability, impressions. Now, with all those benefits there, you can now go one step further and really take those keywords you've been exploring through automatic campaigns and move them into manual campaigns to really exploit the success that you can see from them, because you can control every keyword at that point. Now, when Stephanie shared that Walmart product ads in search and grid are not only limited to 3, 5, 6, and 12 slots now, you can get placed between 1 to 12. You need to now take into account where your product's ranking organically on top terms. Now, what I will say is this is going to be relevant if you are on page 1. Predominantly, if you're not very deep in the search result pages, if you're on page 1 of the first few pages, this is incredibly impactful for you, because with these new ad slots, the incremental value for advertising may have changed. Now, one of the things that Walmart has done very well is they're never going to show the exact same product, one organic, one paid, on a search engine result page. But now, since let's say you had slot number 2, where slots 3, 5, 6, and 12 didn't really matter to you, now you can actually decide whether it's worth it for you to try and go for the number 1 slot. So the incrementality in your strategy should change and adjust because of this. This is also a very good time to reevaluate where and when you are going to be deploying bid multipliers. So top of search now may be even more particularly valuable considering this new inventory. But one thing I wanted it to jump back to is something that Walmart has released that's put them in a league of their own, is the ability to look at placement by platform and device type, because that's an absolute gold mine. And I'll actually show you an example of that next. Lastly, now, since you can see your buy box win rate, you need to be especially focused on winning the buy box, and if you're not, being able to address it. Because here's the thing. If you don't have the buy box, not only is it hard to get a sale in general, you can't even advertise your product. And during high traffic periods like Q4, it could be incredibly painful if you do not have that buy box placement. Now that you can see buy box win rates, you can also start to see, okay, if my ads aren't performing well, or I'm not even getting impressions, you then can go see, well, hey, maybe the issue is I'm not even winning the buy box. So now you have more data to dissect what actually you're facing within your business. I did want to give you an example of platform performance by platform. So Walmart has a very unique ability that's incredible, where you can see whether an advertisement was served up on the desktop or the mobile app or the mobile browser. And you can leverage bid multipliers to adjust how aggressively you attack a platform and advertise on a platform and device type. So prime example, we work with a cosmetic company that has done incredibly well on mobile. One of the things we started to see, though, is because folks weren't just hopping on Walmart to make a one-off purchase, they actually were changing. And I believe, Stephanie, I think I got an email about a new survey Walmart did, where the average person's spending 20 minutes adding things to their cart instead of a one-off item. We've actually seen that products that did well on mobile, they're actually picking up the pace a lot on desktop. So you need to be able to recognize how buyer behavior has shifted and how you specifically want to advertise based on device type. Walmart gives you the ability to do so when other platforms do not. So know before you place your bets. So what you need to do is you need to understand where are you currently underspending or overspending. You need to audit your account to identify problem areas and terms that you should be doubling down on. A great way for you to do this is to break down your spend by shopper segmentation. What are my own brand terms that I'm bidding on? How does that break out and compare to competitor terms that I'm bidding on? And then also generic terms that do not represent a brand. There's no brand term. It's something generic specific to a category term or a spec of the product. You should start to break that down to understand what is truly incremental. Incrementality is what was the likelihood that I was going to get this sale without this advertisement. To put this into perspective, if I'm bidding on, if I'm Jason McGee t-shirts, if somebody's going on Walmart looking up Jason McGee t-shirts, that's not necessarily incremental to my business because they were already looking to buy my brand, but it's also important to do that to defend your brand at the exact same time. And on the other end, if you're going after my wife, Joanna's t-shirts, and I'm trying to tell them, hey, I have better shirts than my wife by competing on those branded terms, that's a very, very incremental sale because they were actually looking to buy another company's products. So regularly download your search term reports because consumer behavior is a moving target and performance changes. Now that you have the item keyword performance reports from the automatic campaigns, this is how you explore keywords that are driving people to your product that you may not know that was a search term that people even used. You constantly need to be exploring new keywords. Another best practice is whether it's coming from autos and especially manual campaigns, if you're downloading those search term reports, you should be matching your top performing keywords with your listing to know, hey, actually I'm getting a lot of traffic from advertising on this key term. It barely shows up in my listing at all. I should probably highlight this more in my listing. Next bullet, can you support value-based bidding with unkept budgets? Now, the thing about Q4 is the demand of consumers outweighs how many people are advertising. You see this on Amazon, Walmart, etc. Meaning that the right structure, if you have the capital, is to uncap your budgets and tie them to KPIs such as ROAS, conversion rate, etc. The best way for you to do this is to break out your manual campaigns into single item SKUs so you can quickly track performance at the item level and know exactly which keywords are so incredibly important to your business. Now, how are you supporting exploratory bidding? Again, since Walmart is a first price auction, just to give everybody an example, what that means is if I want to bid on the keyword t-shirt, outside of shipping, buy box win rate, etc., if I were to bid $5 and the second highest bid is $2, most places like Facebook or Amazon, there's a second price auction. So I win the bid at $5, I pay $2.01, the 1 penny over the second highest bid. On Walmart, whatever you bid, you pay 100% of your bid, you would pay $5. So what you need to be doing is constantly adjusting your bid, adjusting it up to where you're winning the advertising auction, but also making sure that you're not just complacent at that price point. You could possibly be lowering your bid and still winning the ad placement because of conversion rates, how you deliver, etc. So this is kind of self-fulfilling, but this is very, very tough to do manually. This is something that we do very well at Tigametrix. So let's talk about products, keywords, and bids. So obviously your entire catalog, you have products, we've seen the data that shows that 99 keywords can generate revenue for any particular product. So how do you identify those keywords? And then what is the bid you're willing to express to generate an impression and win the advertising auction? So if you look at products, you need to understand that every product is going to have a very different retail price. Their margin is going to be different. Where your product is in its life cycle is going to be different. And then on the keyword and bid side, every keyword has a different audience, whether it's brand, non-brand, competitors. what bid you want to express, and then what your desired ACoS or ROAS is. Now, one thing I will say is that Q4 is an incredible time to launch a product or really step on the gas regardless, because again, the amount of buyers coming to the site outweighs the advertising side. So it's in advertisers' favor, it's your Super Bowl. So the way you address this, whether it's Q4 or any time of the year, is you need to establish goal-based campaigns that incorporate these factors mentioned above. So what does that look like? So if you think about what your goal is, you should really understand where your product is in its life cycle. Is this a brand new product that I need to launch? Is this a product that's been around for a while, but I just need to scale up revenue? Or has this been such a good seller, you want to maximize and irk out any profitability you can? Or the very opposite end is, you know what, I'm clearing this out, I'm bringing in a new version, I'm just going to liquidate this product. So depending on where your product is in its life cycle, everything becomes contextual, such as what are your goals and what are the outcomes that you're hoping for? What is the budget you're willing to set aside to achieve those goals? What is the desired ACoS or ROAS? And then what are your overall expectations now, as well as the product grows with evolution? If you look to the very far right, this vertical graph here gives a representation of what you should expect within a certain life cycle of a product. So if you're in a launch phase, you don't have many sales, you're investing heavily in advertising to spin that flywheel and to establish product market fit. Once you start to hit the growth stage, you can back off your ROAS and ACoS targets down to being profitable, where you're maximizing and striking that balance between sales and advertising generated. So let's look at how you should be thinking about structuring campaigns. Again, even hyper-focused on, I guess, amplified in Q4. From an automatic perspective, the fact that you now have reports from keyword level reports and automatic campaigns allows you to get away with having multiple products grouped together by product theme. Similar products that have different colors, different size counts, etc. You may want to have them in one overarching campaign. And then within each ad group, you can have all those items there together. The beauty with Walmart is you can bid at the individual item level. So what do you do with this? Excuse me. There's my son running in here. Sorry, guys. I was talking to Waver and Stephanie about my son probably wanting to do that. So glad to know it actually happened. So where was I? So now we have your search terms that are performing well in automatic campaigns. You should do two things with this. You should move those search terms from your automatic campaigns into your manual campaigns. At the same time, you should think, what are my best performing products in these automatic campaigns? And you should segment out your best performing products, and your products aren't going nearly as well, because when you leverage bid multipliers, you want to make sure you're doing it to drive the right outcomes for the right products. So as it relates to manual campaigns, this is what I mentioned. You should have single item campaigns, meaning, and once you have single item campaigns, you should break those ad groups up by shopper segmentation. What are generic category terms? 78% of search terms on marketplaces like Amazon and Walmart are generic in nature. You need to cast a very wide net there. You need to have a separate goal, separate ROAS goal, etc. On branded terms, you should approach competitors separately as well. And you can take learnings from other marketplaces like Amazon, even Google Analytics, and take those keywords, and you can even break them out into separate ad group to drive growth through those keywords as well. So maximizing your efforts. Number one, branded keywords should demand some of your lowest bids and your highest ROAS. Again, because these aren't necessarily incremental, so you should expect to convert at a very high rate, but also you don't want to overinvest in branded advertising, because again, it's not really moving the needle in terms of driving the top of the funnel. Understanding bidding to value and having the budget to support it. As I mentioned, uncapped budgets, but tie them to KPIs, because if profitable sales are likely, the last thing you want to do is close up shop early and have your campaigns run out of budget with hours in the day left to actually be turned on to maximize sales. Another very interesting point is when you're looking at the metrics of products, you want to look at conversion rates even more closely than ACoS and ROAS, because ACoS and ROAS, because of the window and how you look at this the attribution, conversion rates, that you can see that a lot quicker. So if you see conversion rates spiking and going up, you can confidently increase your bids knowing that it's going to handle the ROAS and ACoS to take care of itself because your conversion rates are up. Lastly, get your fulfillment plan set up and competitive. Walmart has done a lot in the realm of this. I mean, Walmart's released Walmart Fulfillment Service of third-party sellers. They have partnerships with Deliver to have a 2-day shipping tag. We even did a webinar and covered this in great detail. If you have at least 3-day shipping and you have those tags associated with your listing, it's going to dramatically improve conversion rates. So, as an example, this is what Alicia DeFinis from the Walmart Marketplace team had shared during our last webinar. If you have at least 4-day shipping, you're going to start to see a material improvement in your conversion rates. And once you get into that sweet spot of at least 3-day or 2-day rates, you can see your conversion rate can increase as high as 42% if you have the 2-day shipping tag. So that's incredibly important to your business. And Stephanie, I'll turn it back over to you to talk about, actually, a few more success stories, Stephanie, before I get over to you. So I wanted to talk one of our clients, GoPlus. This is incredibly important and just telling in terms of why you do not want to cap budgets. So them, like most of our clients, started with a fixed budget, but in a very short amount of time, within the first 2 weeks, we've exceeded their ROAS goals. So instead of saying, okay, let's keep it going because we're hitting our metrics, they doubled down and began to invest heavily. And we've been able to achieve and exceed their ROAS targets with 4x the budget. And if you want to see that in a graphical view here, you can see exactly where we achieved their targets and how, even though we've been ramping up spend 4x, we're still exceeding their targets because they're not even close to the law of diminishing returns. Another example, this one, I wanted to highlight how you need to be able to adjust based on the data and trends that you're seeing. So this is a client of ours. When we had a very good plan for them, when COVID struck, there were supply chain and inventory issues. We quickly audited what we were doing and changed our strategy. So much so that we were able to switch our strategy methodology and achieve a conversion rate increase and a ROAS increase of 2.4%. You can see the graphical representations about what happened, how we saw it and identified it, and what we did to change that and drive top line growth. So Stephanie, as promised, back over to you for lessons as it relates to holiday.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. Okay, so I want to just cover some quick do's and don'ts. So I already mentioned that, in order to win in the sponsored products auction, your products have to be in stock. So that is the first thing to keep in mind. Make sure that during the holidays, you have the appropriate stock to make sure that your products are not going to be going in and out of stock at any time during the day, which is going to cause you to lose that visibility. The second thing to do is to make sure you have optimized your product detail page. Make sure you have appropriate and descriptive, titles and descriptions. You have really high quality images. When you get a shopper to your product detail page, you want to make sure you convert. So make sure that you've really optimized every one of your product detail pages. Third, make sure that you're pricing your products competitively. That goes kind of hand in hand with what Jason mentioned around shipping. To get shoppers to click on your products, you want to make sure you have a competitive price and you're offering competitive shipping times. Both of those are going to be really important for you, especially during the holiday season. And then lastly, don't just stick with business as usual, right? The holiday is going to be a time of, a lot of increased shoppers, which means the potential for increased conversions and sales. So just make sure that you are changing your strategy accordingly.
Yeah, add one thing to note about this. On your Third, do price tests, price your products competitively, run promotions. Also, when you're running promotions, see what that's doing to your conversion rate. So if you think about running a 20% off, you should assume that you're going to convert at a high rate. So I would monitor your conversion rates. And if your conversion rates are skyrocketing and increasing, that's an awesome opportunity to make sure you're also advertising that product more aggressively as well. Increasing your bids, because with the conversion rate and your higher probability of sale, if you win that click, it's going to take care of your ROAS and ACoS in the long run. And I'll go to the next slide here.
Perfect. Some additional kind of strategy tips that I will give you all to keep in mind for the holidays. Make sure that you are first planning ahead. You want to make sure you're launching all of your holiday campaigns at least 2 weeks in advance, so you have the opportunity to kind of get your strategy in place, and then give you some opportunity to be ready to optimize once holiday hits. Go bigger with your budgets, right? So as Jason mentioned, setting a budget cap isn't necessarily the best strategy. If you're getting good ROAS and results, be ready to kind of set those budget higher and double down when you need to. Third, make your keywords work harder for you. So Jason talked about some strategies on, grouping your keywords and putting them into appropriate ad groups. Make sure you're doing that so you group your products together by category, so you're getting keywords that are going to align to multiple items and products across your product portfolios. The fourth bullet here is to bid your maximum. So as a reminder, Walmart is a first price auction, which means you should always be bidding the maximum price you are willing to pay. And during the holiday, we do expect that CPC bid prices will increase, kind of just based on the increased competition that will happen. So make sure that you are bidding high enough to ensure that you're going to win the auction. When you're doing your keyword bidding, also make sure that you choose a mix of the match types. We always recommend that you start with broad, which is going to give you the largest exposure, and then over time optimize towards phrase or exact match for the keywords that are converting and performing really well for you. The next point here is to make sure that you are showcasing your winners. So choose your products within your product portfolio that are highly rated, that are going to, that you have priced competitively, etc., to make sure that you are promoting the, products that are going to continue to drive additional sales and conversions for you. Next, make sure that you're boosting your daily spend. So our recommendation is that you set your daily budgets at least 35% higher than you do during the remainder of the year. That again is to make sure that you're not running out of budget in the middle of the day, so that you ensure that you're always at the have the ability to win the auction, and make sure that your product, or that you're not going to run out of budget, your products won't be going out of stock. All of those are going to, impact your ability to win the auction. Think mobile. Jason talked a little bit about this. We do give you insight into the specific device types that are performing well for you. So if you're converting really well on mobile or on desktop, make sure you use the bid multipliers to take advantage of that, and really boost your bids across the device types that are converting well for you. And then lastly, make sure you're checking in frequently. So check in on all of your campaigns, make sure that you're not running out of budget, your items aren't going out of stock, that you're winning the buy box, right? All of those are going to be factors that influence whether or not you are able to win in the auction and get those top of search placements. So just make sure that you're checking in frequently, so you don't miss out on any potential sales. And then lastly, I will just leave you with a reminder of what the key holiday dates are this year. So Thanksgiving will be coming up on November 26th. Now, Walmart made an announcement recently that we are closing all of our stores on Thanksgiving. We will not be opening for Thanksgiving, which is the first time ever, which means the only way that Walmart shoppers will be shopping on Thanksgiving Day this year will be on walmart.com. So take that, keep that in mind. Even more important, right, with all of the strategy that we just mentioned, to make sure that you're set for Thanksgiving Day. And then, of course, Black Friday will follow on the 27th. With Cyber Monday on the 30th of November this year.
Yep, and that's just to kick us off, because there's a lot more holiday season after that as well. So thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. And that said, Andrew, I know we have a bunch of questions in here, so we're happy to address any of them as you deem fit.
Sure. So yeah, got a bunch that we'll go through in just a minute. Yeah, again. Thanks for that great presentation. Again, anyone on the line, if you want to learn more about what Tigametrics can do for Walmart, Jason's email is right here. You can shoot him a note directly. So getting to the questions, the first one's from Shante here, and I think this is a good one for Stephanie. She asks, I work with a brand that is moving from the Walmart Marketplace program to the Walmart Supplier program. What does this mean for our advertising options?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. So we do have some additional advertising options that are available specifically to suppliers only. Specifically, those are going to be our display advertising options, as well as our search brand amplifier, which is the placement that shows up at the very top of the search results page. It's very similar to the sponsored brands concept on Amazon. So if you're interested in any of those placements, those are available through Walmart directly. So if you reach out to Jason, he can connect you, or just reach out to your Walmart contact directly, and we can explain all of those additional options to you.
Great. This next one, I think, is a good one for Jason. This is from Jennifer. She asks, you mentioned all these buckets for keywords and separating them into ad groups, again based on, as we talked about, kind of competitor and generic and brand. What's the best practice for bucketing these keywords into different categories?
So great question, Jennifer. When you say, let's assume I believe you're mentioning on the manual side. The beauty about Walmart is you can set your bids either at the ad group level or or the individual item level. The thing about it is, if you have one product per ad group, what you should do is you should make a list of and you can download your search term reports from Walmart. You can even use them on other marketplaces if you're just launching on Walmart. What you need to do is you need to make sure that anytime your brand name is referenced to a search criteria, like it could be, as I mentioned, Jason McGee t-shirts, Jason McGee clothing as a brand. You need to separate that out from any list of competitors that you want to go after. Those should go in separate ad groups. Then you should have a third one, which is just for generic search terms, like men's shirt, blue size medium. That would be a generic search term. Once you bucket them out in different ad groups, you should think, what is my desired return on ad spend or my desired ACoS? So you should expect the highest conversion in your highest ROAS on your own branded terms, because they already know about your brand and they're looking to make a purchase decision around your brand and your products. The opposite end is for competitors. This is very competitive because they're deep in a competitor's funnel. You should be willing to have a lot lower of a ROAS or a lot higher of an ACoS, because you're trying to grab that sale from a competitor's basket. Somewhere between those two should be where you place your bids on in the keywords for generic search terms at the same time. If you want to talk to me specifically about it, Jennifer, reach out to me and I can show you about how you should set your ROAS targets or your ACoS targets based on where your product is in its life cycle and what the goals of that product are. Hopefully that answers your question.
Great, and I think another good one that kind of follows on here is, on other marketplaces, this was, I believe, from Chris, right now with Walmart, right, we recommend segmenting targeting at the ad group level rather than at the campaign level that you might see on some other marketplaces. And I mean, Jason, I don't know if I have some stuff that I can talk about there, but I don't know if you have kind of some initial feedback on that.
No, I think they've heard a lot of me, Andrew. Feel free to answer this one.
Sure. So, what you see is what we always recommend from a, philosophical point of view here at Teikametrics is having single item campaigns and then subsequent ad groups, which break down, again, based on those keyword buckets like Jason was just talking about, right? Brand, competitor, generic. And the reason why you want to do that is because by having a single item campaign with these more granular ad groups, it allows you to essentially track and then optimize to performance at, again, a much more granular level. The issue with doing something that's, more, let's say, like top of funnel and all these keywords are, let's say, bucketed with or you have multiple items, it's going to be really hard to then subsequently judge, okay, what do you need to tweak for performance, based on performance, right? Because if you have multiple products in there with potentially multiple margins or multiple price ranges, that becomes a much more difficult task. And then you're essentially spending a lot more time kind of looking at the performance and trying to make changes versus trusting the data, which is a lot easier when you've got these things broken out more granularly. So that's why we always recommend this kind of more single item campaign to this multiple to this keyword type structure that tends to just drive the best results just from a, again, a monitoring and adjustment point of view.
And that's exactly right, Andrew. And going one step further, the beauty about having single item campaigns is control. And I guess the alternative, or even deeper, would be I have one campaign, an entire campaign for branded keywords, an entire campaign for competitor, and so on. Walmart does have daily minimums in place for how you're going to create campaigns and the budget requirements. I believe it's $100 a day or $1,000 open-ended budget. That, if you don't have a huge budget or you have a very large catalog, that could be a very costly way to do it. And you're just going a step further than you really need to from a management perspective. I mean, again, self-fulfilling, trying to do this manually and dissect the data is tough, but with Teikametrics and in our technology, we're able to strike the right balance between being as granular as you need to be with out of respect for your budget and being able to take action based on what the performance delivers for each individual ad group.
Love that. All right. Just so we can get through, since there's a lot of questions coming in, and I want to get to as many of them as we can here. Let's see. So I think this is a good one from Chris, probably a good one for Stephanie here. What determines where ads are placed in the grid 1 through 12 now with this expanded inventory?
Yeah, so the way that we select the winners for the auction is the same as it was previously. So it's always going to be based on relevancy and bid price. So just because you're the highest bidder doesn't always, doesn't mean that you're always going to win that top slot. Walmart also looks at how relevant your product is to that specific, search query for what the shopper is looking for. So it's a combination of both relevancy as well as bid price.
Great. And another one here was something I think we saw this from I think a few folks here, and I know it's something that's been long on folks' mind, which was when or if there'll be anything around kind of negative keywords for automatic campaigns. I don't know if Stephanie, you have anything to add here.
Yeah, that is on our planned roadmap. You should expect to see it likely like first half of next year. So unfortunately, we will not have negative keywords available for the holiday season this year. Got it.
Good to know. This is one that just came in. I thought it was a good follow-up for some stuff we were talking about, Jason. It's from Elizabeth. She asks, by single item, does that mean all variations of a product are considered the same item? We sell clothing in many colors and sizes. Could we advertise them together? And I believe,
Yep.
with Walmart in particular, right, you do have some restrictions on this in terms of what items you can advertise.
Yeah, Elizabeth, this is a really interesting one. and probably requires a separate conversation about it, but obviously to answer your question now, one of the things about how Walmart has created, in at least a current version of Walmart, is you can only advertise your base item ID. So then becomes the challenge is, do I want to create separate SKUs for small, medium, and large? Personally, I think it should be in one. I mean, the way buyers purchase things, especially if it's a clothing item, they know variations are to be expected. What I would recommend is if you do have variations, know that you can only advertise the base item ID, but once they go to your listing, they can obviously select the variation. But what I would recommend is put your best selling item as your base item ID. If you know medium is the best selling size that you have, that would be the base item ID. I would make sure that that's the base item ID when you're editing or creating a listing for your product. And again, if you want to talk more in detail about this, please just shoot me a note. We can have a chat about it. One thing while we're on it too, this becomes more strategic in terms of, let's say you're selling dog treats, and like you're selling a small, medium, large of a t-shirt, the retail price is probably going to be the same or very similar, and your margins are going to be pretty much the same. But the question really does become, what if I have a dog treat and I sell a 10-pack and then I sell a 30-pack? This may be a reason for you to consider breaking out those as separate item IDs and separate SKUs. Because let's say that my 10-pack is my best selling item, or my 20-pack is the best selling item, and they can actually go and select the smaller size at 10. You may overpay for that impression and click, where it's not profitable if they select the lower 10 count, but it becomes but the opposite is, if my 20 count is such a better margin, if you only advertise in mind for a 10 count, you could be leaving money on the table when people could purchase that larger set, and you actually could have afforded to spend more for that click. So you need to be very strategic about your goals, your budget, and how those variants are breaking out. As a general rule of thumb, you don't want to advertise products that are not, like, if you want to advertise products together, make sure they're in roughly 10% of the sales price, 10% of the same margin, and they have the same goal of product lifecycle. Don't mix a brand new launched item with an item that's been around forever, because you're going to have different goals, and you're going to sort of battle yourself there as you're trying to set up your advertising and how you structure your items on Walmart.com.
It's a great point, Jason. And kind of dovetailing with that a little bit, we can do probably a couple more questions before we wrap up here. This is from Jawad, and I think it's a nice question. Just what's the best practices, in using keywords, when you think of broad, phrase, and exact, kind of how you should think about that. And I know just from our perspective, we typically recommend, right, when you look at kind of our suggested, structure, you may have keywords that, within a manual campaign will, let's say, conform to each of those. However, what we typically recommend is, right, you can have obviously a better idea. If you get a good idea of performance, let's say with a broad or phrase match, and you're getting good performance on that, look at that within a more exact, exact keyword campaign, or rather targeting, specifically because it's going to get you better performance if you're able to more manually kind of adjust based on performance there. Jason, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
Waver, you're exactly right. So think about it this way. When you're running automatic campaigns, that's essentially, think of automatics most of the time as a broad match. Once you're proven that you can convert that automatic campaign as generating sales, when you move it to a manual campaign, you can actually go right to a phrase match as a good best practice, because you don't necessarily need to have it as a broad. The purpose of broad is to prove and discover that keyword can work for you, so move it as a phrase. Once it's in a phrase match and you start converting very well, and you're getting sales at a good conversion rate at a good ROAS or ACoS, you can also add it, not necessarily delete it as a phrase, but you can also add it as an exact match as well. That's the way you work through the funnel, from auto to manual, broad, phrase, exact. The holy grail is having a very finite subset of keywords that you've used data and KPIs to move them down the funnel. That's a good way I would approach it.
Great, and I think we can take one more question here, because I saw a couple come through on this front. I don't know, maybe this is a good one for Stephanie to wrap up here, which is, are there anything that if certain folks have, let's say, used the new Shopify connection to get their products, on Walmart.com, is there anything they need to know in terms of like special about advertising through that? I mean, my gut tells me no, but I don't know if there's anything you can add there in terms of for those folks that may have their products up there just via Shopify.
No, there should be nothing kind of different or unique with that. You have all of the same kind of advertising or sponsored product advertising options available to you, and Teikametrics will be able to help you out with all of that.
Yep. And just to round out, Stephanie is exactly right. Although the back end is being ran on the partnership with Shopify and Walmart, advertising still sits with Walmart if you want to advertise on Walmart in that way. Steph, I had one, I don't know if Andrew, you saw this one too, but Steph, can you just touch on how long it may take for you to apply for Walmart advertising? Or I don't know if that's something you had a minute to touch on.
Oh, sure. It shouldn't be a very lengthy process, to be honest. And Jason and the Teikametrics team can let you know kind of how to get in touch with our teams and to go through the onboarding process. There's obviously some forms and information that we'll need from you, but assuming that all of that is kind of readily available, it should take no more than 3 to 5 days, I would say. Generally, so it's not a very difficult process. We try to make it as seamless as possible.
Yep, and as always, whether you're registering to advertise or sell on Walmart, just make sure you have your ducks in a row and you have all the proper documentation that's required. It's very important that you give Walmart specifically what they need to be able to evaluate your account in a seamless process. Just because, to be candid, Stephanie could probably touch on this as well, but the amount of people applying to sell on Walmart, not to mention trying to advertise, it's a huge influx. So you just want to make sure you make it as easy for the Walmart team to run their standard operating procedure. That's also what makes Walmart so great, is not just letting anybody and everybody in. It's a very curated experience, and that's why sellers and retailers are seeing so much success on the platform.
Yep. Yeah. And on that note, if you're not registered yet for advertising, I would encourage you to do that as soon as possible so that you're not caught up in kind of the holiday rush of advertisers trying to get on. So do it as soon as possible, kind of once you've got all those ducks in a row, as Jason mentioned.
Awesome. Well, I think on that's a good note to end on. And so again, everyone on the line, you'll be receiving a recording of this webinar along with this deck, so you can take a look and review the material after the fact, and we'll send that along roughly 24 hours from now. So keep an eye out from that. Again, thank you to Jason, thank you to Stephanie, and thank you all for coming here, and hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.